There is a moment that quietly changes a person forever. A moment when the messages become fewer, when the people who once promised to support you become distracted by their own lives, and when the vision inside your mind becomes so large that explaining it to others feels almost impossible. And then, one day, you look around and realize something uncomfortable. The person you were waiting for, the person who would encourage you, push you forward, open the door for you, and rescue you from uncertainty, may never arrive. No perfect mentor, no perfect opportunity, no sudden wave of motivation, no one standing behind you, telling you that everything will work out. For many people, this moment feels like the end. They interpret silence as rejection. They interpret loneliness as failure. They believe that if nobody believes in them, maybe their dream was never realistic. But throughout history, some of the strongest individuals experience this exact moment before they transform their lives. They discovered a truth most people never learn. Being alone is not always a weakness. Sometimes it is the environment where strength is created. Because when nobody is carrying you, you finally discover what you are capable of carrying yourself. Welcome to KOMIND. Here, we explore the hidden psychology behind success, discipline, human behavior, and the forces that shape extraordinary people. From the beginning of human history, one need has influenced almost every decision we make: belonging. Thousands of years ago, being separated from your group was not just emotionally painful, it was dangerous. A person rejected by the tribe had fewer chances to survive. And even though the modern world looks completely different, the human brain still carries that ancient fear. This is why rejection feels so powerful. This is why criticism can sometimes hurt more than failure. Because failure attacks something you did, but rejection feels like it attacks who you are. Deep inside, many people carry a hidden belief. If people believe in me, maybe I am capable. If people support me, maybe my dream is possible. If people approve of me, maybe I am on the right path. But this creates a dangerous psychological trap. You begin to rent your confidence from other people, and anything that is rented can eventually be taken away. One negative comment can destroy your motivation. One person doubting your ability can make you question your entire future. One moment of rejection can make you abandon something you were meant to build. But people who create extraordinary things eventually discover a different source of power. They learn that support is valuable, but dependence on support is dangerous. Because if your dream requires everyone around you to understand it before you begin, you may spend your entire life waiting. History does not remember the people who waited for perfect approval. It remembers the people who moved forward before the world understood them. Not because they had no fear, not because they never failed, but because they developed something rare: the ability to continue, even when nobody was watching. Psychologists call this an internal locus of control. It is the belief that your actions, choices, and discipline influence the direction of your life. It does not mean believing you control everything. You cannot control every event. You cannot control every person's opinion. You cannot control when recognition arrives. But you can control your response. You can control whether you improve. You can control whether you continue. You can control whether you become stronger. And this is where the transformation begins. Because the powerful question is no longer, who will support me? The powerful question becomes, what can I build with what I already have? One of the greatest misunderstandings about being alone is that people confuse solitude with weakness. They see an empty room and assume something is missing. They see fewer messages on their phone and believe they have been forgotten. They experience a season without support and immediately conclude that something is wrong. But sometimes, the empty room is not a punishment. Sometimes, it is preparation. Because when the noise disappears, something unexpected happens. You finally begin to hear yourself. Throughout history, many great thinkers, creators, and leaders experienced periods of isolation before they created their greatest work, not because they rejected people, not because they believed they needed nobody, but because growth requires moments where your own thoughts become stronger than the opinions around you. The Roman Emperor Marcus Aurelius carried the responsibility of leading one of the greatest empires in history. Yet some of his most powerful ideas were not created during moments of comfort. They were created during uncertainty, conflict, and personal struggle. His private reflections became a reminder that sometimes the strongest minds are developed in the quietest moments. The same principle can be seen in the life of Miyamoto Musashi, the legendary Japanese swordsman and philosopher. Through years of discipline and solitude, he refined not only his skills, but also his understanding of life, strategy, and human nature. He understood something important. A person who cannot stand alone will always be controlled by the fear of being alone. Solitude removes distractions. There is no audience to impress, no applause to chase, no one else to blame. You are forced to face your own habits, your own weaknesses, and your own unfinished responsibilities. And this is why many people avoid silence. They are not always afraid of being alone. They are afraid of meeting themselves. Because when the outside world becomes quiet, your own thoughts become impossible to ignore. But this is also where something powerful begins to develop: self-trust. The ability to make decisions without needing constant reassurance. The ability to continue without knowing exactly how everything will work out. The ability to believe in yourself before anyone else does. Confidence is not something that appears before action. Confidence is created through action. Every difficult choice you make builds evidence. Every challenge you overcome becomes proof. Every promise you keep to yourself strengthens your identity. This is why difficult seasons can transform people. Not because suffering automatically creates greatness. It does not. But because overcoming challenges teaches you something comfort never can. You are capable of more than you thought. And this leads to one of the biggest barriers that prevents people from reaching their potential. A barrier that silently controls millions of lives: the need for permission. From childhood, many people are trained to wait. Wait for the teacher to say, "You are ready." Wait for the manager to notice your effort. Wait for an expert to confirm your idea has value. Wait for the world to approve your potential. And without realizing it, they carry this habit into adulthood. They wait for permission to start the business, permission to create something, permission to change their direction, permission to become a different version of themselves. But here is the uncomfortable truth. The world rarely gives permission. Before you begin, it usually gives recognition after you prove yourself. Most people look at successful individuals and imagine that someone discovered them. They imagine someone opened the door, someone gave them a chance, someone finally saw their potential. And sometimes that happens. But many times, the person built the door themselves. They practiced before anyone noticed. They improved before anyone cared. They continued before anyone believed. This is the difference between people who remain average and people who create extraordinary lives. Average thinking asks, "What will people think if I fail?" Growth-oriented thinking asks, "What will happen if I never try?" One question protects you from discomfort. The other pushes you toward possibility. The moment you stop waiting for permission, something inside you begins to change. You stop searching for someone to validate your potential, and you start building evidence that proves it. Because real confidence does not come from telling yourself you are capable. It comes from showing yourself that you are capable. Every time you take action despite fear, you build trust with yourself. Every time you finish something difficult, you strengthen your identity. Every time you continue when quitting feels easier, you send a message to your own mind. I can depend on myself. And this is one of the most powerful transformations a person can experience. The shift from needing approval to creating value. The shift from asking, "Does the world believe in me?" to asking, "Am I becoming someone worth believing in?" This does not mean you should reject people. It does not mean you should believe you need nobody. Human beings are built for connection. Great achievements are often created through cooperation, mentorship, and relationships. But there is a difference between using support and depending on support to function. A strong person can accept guidance without becoming helpless without it. They can appreciate encouragement without needing it every day. They can work with others without losing themselves. Think about a tree. A tree grows stronger because of the wind. The wind challenges it. The wind forces its roots to become deeper, but the tree does not ask the wind to hold it upright. Its foundation comes from within. Your relationships can accelerate your journey. Your mentors can provide wisdom. Your opportunities can create possibilities. But your foundation must belong to you. Because if your confidence depends completely on external forces, every storm can break you. This is why discipline becomes so important. When nobody is watching, discipline becomes your personal accountability system. Motivation is temporary. Emotions change. Inspiration comes and goes. But discipline creates a bridge between the person you are today and the person you want to become. The person who depends on motivation asks, "Do I feel like doing this?" The disciplined person asks, "Does this need to be done?" That small difference separates people who transform their lives from people who remain trapped in preparation forever. Because success is rarely built during moments of excitement. It is built during ordinary days. The days when nobody notices. The days when progress feels invisible. The days when quitting feels easier. Those moments are where identity is created. Psychologists describe this as identity-based behavior. The idea that lasting change happens when your actions begin to match the person you believe you are. A person who says, "I am trying to become disciplined," is constantly fighting resistance. But a person who says, "I am a disciplined person," starts making decisions that protect that identity. Your behavior follows your beliefs about yourself. A creator creates. A learner learns. A disciplined person practices discipline. But a person who sees themselves as powerless will always search for reasons why they cannot move forward. This is why your relationship with yourself matters so much. You spend more time with yourself than anyone else. You are the person who hears your thoughts. You are the person who experiences your failures. You are the person who must continue when nobody else understands the struggle. So become someone you can trust. Become the person who encourages yourself when nobody else does. Become the person who pushes yourself when nobody is watching. Become the person you once hoped someone else would appear and create for you. Because the goal is not to become someone who needs nobody. The goal is to become someone who does not need to be rescued. There is a difference. A person who needs rescue searches for someone to complete them. A self-reliant person searches for someone to walk beside them. They do not connect because they are incomplete. They connect because they have something meaningful to share. And eventually, something unexpected happens. The person who once felt invisible becomes the person others notice. The person who once searched for guidance becomes the person others ask for advice. The person who once needed encouragement becomes the person who provides it. Because the difficult season that tested you was also training you. The silence that felt like rejection was also preparation. The empty room that felt like loneliness was actually where you built yourself. So if you are currently in a season where nobody understands your vision, where nobody sees what you are trying to create, do not immediately assume you are lost. Maybe you are simply building something before the world can see it. Every great structure begins underground. Nobody celebrates the foundation. Nobody applauds the roots. Nobody notices the years of preparation. But without them, nothing survives. One day, people may see the results. They may see the confidence. They may see the achievement. They may call it sudden. They may call it luck. But you will know the truth. You will remember the quiet mornings, the difficult decisions, the moments when quitting was easier, but you continued anyway. Because the greatest victory was never just what you built. It was the person you became while building it. So stop waiting for someone to give you permission to become who you already know you can be. The person you were waiting for was you. The approval you were searching for was your own. The door you were waiting for someone to open may have never been locked. You were simply waiting for someone else to turn the handle. Turn it yourself. Create, learn, build, improve, continue. Not because you are guaranteed success, not because the path will always be easy, but because you have finally accepted the responsibility of becoming who you are capable of becoming. If this message gave you a new perspective on discipline, self-reliance, and human potential, subscribe to KOMIND. Here, we explore the psychology behind growth, achievement, and the minds that refuse to remain ordinary. Remember, the world does not change when someone finally chooses you. The world changes when you finally choose yourself.